I've seen classic cases where, I've seen a control system where they got a Post-it note up there with the username and password, and I just look at it like, you are kidding me.
Hi there, welcome to Moxa Security Talks. My name is Jesse and I'm the host. Today we have invited Thomas Burke to talk about cybersecurity for smart factories. Now, he is the past president and executive director of the OPC Foundation and currently serves as the global director of industry standards for Mitsubishi. He is currently working to accelerate the construction of smart factories. Hi, Tom. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jesse. Thanks for the great introduction. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of Mitsubishi and talking at the Moxa Security Talks. The biggest thing that we see is everything going on with cybersecurity. So the timing of the Moxa Security Talks is just perfect, as all our end users are basically trying to secure what I call their critical assets, basically in their representative smart factory opportunities.
Thank you, Tom. Well, basically, since Mitsubishi has served a lot of customers when it comes to smart factories and cybersecurity, I would like to ask you some questions on cybersecurity and smart factories. So, have you noticed any changes of the cybersecurity landscape in the industrial control systems, especially during the past 3 years? So, for instance, maybe more remote connection, maybe ICS systems are being exploited by malicious parties, these kind of things.
So Jesse, that's really a great question. Really, the background that I want to talk about this is end users now, when they think about the digital factory, really what they're doing is they're adding a lot of what I call disparate and previously disconnected devices to all their networks, because they're really striving to get a lot of data and then basically leveraging the IT to OT convergence and turn it into information, right? As they get all this possible data basically in their facility. And if you think about all the multitudes of networks that are involved in both the IT and the OT side, the networks are very open, and versus they're not closed anymore, so they're open. It allows people to plug devices on it, and which opens the risk of cybersecurity breaches. So the challenges that I see that the end users, and I've traveled to a lot of different end user sites over the last several years, is they're doing strange things and they're not really having strong security guidelines being enforced by their companies. And I've seen classic cases where I've seen a control system where they got a Post-it note up there with the username and password, and I just look at it like, you are kidding me. But they're doing that for reasons, because it's like, well, if somebody needs access to the system quickly, they can't fumble around looking for the username and password, Tom. Well, it's like, okay, and the funny part is, with all that in mind, we've got the ability, particularly with everything we're doing, and from, particular vendors like Moxa, that we can secure down to what I call the lowest level data or the metadata for the objects, and can control, who can read, who can write, based on the security configuration. But the problem with that is a lot of the other, suppliers, it's so cumbersome. So the end users strive away from it, and they end up doing things more like group level security instead of individual. And because of that, they end up not really protecting the assets, because if they do it at a group level and then all of a sudden an individual leaves the company, well, they still have access to the network and you probably don't want them to have it. So, it's all these kind of challenges that we face. And, the end users are really adding a lot of different devices, and, there's so many opportunities to visualize and, as they're gathering data and converting information from all these devices. But, how do we make sure that the devices we are connecting from are secure? I mean, in the case of Moxa, you guys build secure devices. You guys design security in, but there's a lot of vendors that don't. And you got a mixture of devices now, some secure and some not so secure. So, okay, let's fast forward. What does that mean? Well, you're basically giving the opportunity for what I call intentional and unintentional breaches of security, because you got a mixture of devices that, and lack of guidelines. So therefore, you've got the possibility of security breaches. So our biggest goal is to really increase awareness, of basically the things you need to do to secure your facility. And the suppliers really, they've got to provide products that are secure by design. And then we got to make sure that the key thing really is the users utilize it. So it's a whole mindset thing of what we're trying to do. Make sure security's in, make sure you got guidelines, and, make sure you're, effectively implementing, and buying the products that are secure, like Moxa, for example.
Thank you very much, Tom. So basically, I agree with you. Awareness is actually the key here. And I think the situation is pretty chaotic in the OT networks right now when it comes to security. Lack of guidelines, as you mentioned, and a lot of devices are not secure by design. So I totally agree with you. User awareness on cybersecurity, security by design on the devices, and also some security guidelines would be very helpful for the users, right?
And we build a whole infrastructure that really allows this whole digital transformation to be realized in a secure fashion. I want to give control to the person that's allowed to write the data and give control to the person that's allowed to read the data. I don't want somebody, basically changing the set point of some device when they're not allowed to do that. So, you have to do security at that level, at the individual level. And those are all the kind of things that, that we're striving to make sure. And, increasing awareness and, before you hit the newspaper and found out that you had a security breach, let's fix it in advance.
Yeah, prevention is always better than cure.
That's correct. Thank you, Jess. Couldn't have said it better.
Thank you. So Tom, as a leading solution provider in smart factoring, what is your take when faced with increasing cybersecurity risks?
So, Jesse, that's a great question of what we're trying to do. And I'm a very strong believer in industry standards for a lot of reasons, and having consistency so that, end users get the opportunity to buy products from suppliers that all cohesively work together and, most importantly, are secure. So, for example, one of the things I'm working with CLPA, which stands for the CC Link Partner Association, and we've created a working group specifically focused at security. And basically, the working group is taking what I call a multi-layer total defense approach and combining a lot of different counter message, including both physical access control and software access control as part of this. So specific examples are, companies like Moxa are putting together and bringing forth, routers and switches basically, and, basically coordinating, usage of applications are all under consideration as part of the working group, and how we're going to structure all this and making sure that all the suppliers basically follow my secure by design principle. So, there's an IEC standard called 62443-4-1. And don't ask me why I happen to know that, but, basically the whole idea behind it is secure by design in the factory automation, and particularly for industrial opportunities and products, right? Whether it's programmable controllers or industrial PCs or factory automation sensors and a multitude of other devices basically. But the whole concept is the standard basically we want to secure by design and put that in in every single product. So recently Mitsubishi announced a partnership basically and work they're doing out of Nagoya Works, essentially where they're engaging in the development and manufacturing of all of our products basically to be certified by IEC standard basically for the security that's been described and defined. And Mitsubishi and a multitude of other companies were basically in the driver's seat to help develop that standard, and now we're insisting on certification across the supplier. So from a really great news, yeah, it's a complicated standard and things like that, but the real good news is the suppliers are really taking this to heart, and they're really being very persistent and making sure that they're doing everything they can to build security into the devices. And I know Moxa, for example, and I keep bringing it up, and not because I'm here doing something for Moxa, it's because you guys are actually designing products with security in mind. And then the other part of that is there's a lot of applications that communicate with all these different devices on the networks, right? And they're focusing on security as well. So everyone is starting to think about this, and the end users are really now recognizing the need to secure their networks and devices, because you know what? the networks are open. They're putting new devices on there, and they don't want to allow some external third-party application to be connected up and bypass the security infrastructure and then have a big disaster on the hands. So that's kind of the whole thing of what we're taking. So standards play a very important part of this equation, and then the biggest thing is the suppliers are actually developing and securing by design, and now the end users, right, with things like this, are becoming more and more aware of, oh, we better do something. We have to, implement security. We have to use products from the vendors that have, certified their products to the standards, and we have to make sure we have all the right guidelines in. And shame on us if we add a device to the network that doesn't have security built in, right? And and go from there. So it's good news. It's good news. But it takes a lot of work on behalf of the end users and suppliers, as well as the standard organizations working cohesively together.
Yeah, I think security and convenience are always on the opposite side of the spectrum. And it's just very glad to know that other vendors besides Moxa are all working on developing a more secure product by secure by design. And also you mentioned multi-layer defense. I think that's a very common technique and a very important technique that should be embedded into the OT network as well, because we have seen this a lot in the IT networks and on the IT side. So I think this is the right way for OT networks and OT defenses. And for the 62443s, thank you very much for bringing up the -4-1, because we all know that the 62443 standard is actually quite complex, because it is actually a framework full of different documents and standards. So thank you for explaining to us that -4-1 means secure by design, so that the products that go through the process would kind of have this DNA of secure by design embedded into that device, and using that device would basically means it's a more secure and safer device to be put inside the OT network. So those are very, very useful informations. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Jesse.
So today we have talked about the change of cybersecurity landscape and how to face the increasing cyber threats in smart factories. The next part of this episode, Tom will share with us about some customer security examples along with customers' concerns. So if you wish to know more, stay tuned.